the Vice President of the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, Reverend Ruben Sambo, the Chairman of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, New Hope, Madam Winnie Zalomis, the National Secretary of our party, Madam Elizabeth Chitika, the members of our National Executive Committee represented here in their numbers, members of the press, fellow countrymen and women. We also acknowledge the many people that have joined us from the diaspora, that are watching us right now from across the world, that have been looking forward to us addressing a number of issues that face us as a nation. As already indicated by the Vice President, I have dubbed this press conference as a conversation with Zambia. I'm going to make a brief statement, then I'm going to stand here and converse with you on the issues that we face. We can create for ourselves a great nation. We can create for ourselves a prosperous land, but we need to sit around the table as we're doing right now and talk about it. We need to talk about how we want our country to be, but I would like only to converse with those that are seriously upset that the Zambia we have is not the Zambia we deserve. Only those who believe that there could be a better Zambia, those are my targeted audience today. So this is not politics. This is coming from my heart because we are living in difficult times. And I hope that this meeting is going to help us achieve something. Secondly, I would like to express our deepest condolences to the families that have lost their relatives and loved ones to COVID-19 here in our country. We stand in prayer and in faith for those that are still infected and in hospitals or in self-quarantine. We stand also with the families, not just here in Zambia, but across the world, especially in the United States, where so many lives have been lost and many continue to be lost. We pray for God's strength, and may God help us as a world to come to realize that this is an opportune time for us to look to God as the author and finisher of our faith. So I'll have a conversation with the media. Then I'll have a conversation with all of you that are watching us, either by Facebook or television or whichever way that you have joined us this morning. Let me read this little statement and then get into the conversation. In September 2011, the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy lost power to the Patriotic Front. This was the first electoral defeat since its inception in 1990-1991. The party was devastated and the party lost spirit. President Rupiah Banda resigned as president of the party and announced his retirement from active politics. 11 members of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MPs accepted jobs as deputy ministers in the new PF government. A lot of our members went into hiding while others crossed over into Malawi for fear of prosecution by the new regime. 53 out of 55 of our MPs were petitioned by the PF, and this was followed by an endless list of by-elections. The Registrar of Societies began the deregistration of the former ruling party for non-payment of statutory fees. Many former leaders, including former President Mr. Rupiah Banda, were arrested and dragged to court for alleged corruption. It was a dark day for the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. Fear gripped the entire party, resulting into a paralyzed opposition party with absolutely no voice. Why do I state the obvious today? Surely every Zambian understands this history when MMD lost power to the Patriotic Front. But I repeat this story so that I can give our account, my account. This was the sad state of the defeated movement for multi-party democracy in 2011. It was dark and done for the once mighty movement for multi-party democracy. This is what I found upon my return from a tour of duty where I served as High Commissioner in Canada. Our opponents, however, with all this happened, have coined a false account, and that is why I want to correct the account. They have coined a false account of my role in the described state of the movement for multi-party democracy. Some of them have even gone as far as immorally saying that NEVERS has destroyed the movement for multi-party democracy. The truth is that I was not even here when this destruction of the party was done. I was in Canada, if there was any destruction. The truth is that I came back to this country and found a paralyzed movement for multi-party democracy. Above all the negatives, the greatest is that Zambians said they had removed MMD from government because of alleged corruption. It was at this time, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair, that I chose to fight for the former ruling party by inspiring the grassroots of the party by a message of don't kutina. Be not afraid. I told our grassroots not to fear government, but to respect it if they had to. And I know that at that time, the fear that was in the MMD membership had totally paralyzed our activities. But I came with a message of don't be afraid. Let's fight for our liberties, our freedoms, and let's get our party back on its feet. I promised them we could give spirit back to our deflated party. The general membership believed me, and out of a pack of 7 formidable candidates, I emerged winner at the convention with almost 70% of the national vote. I fought and raised the 84,000 United States dollars within 14 days to pay the registrar of societies to forestall the deregistration process of our party. I fought for our petition members of parliament, including Honorable Dora Silia, whose case landed me in the Supreme Court for contempt of court. We fought as a team and contested in a myriad of by-elections and won a string of them under my leadership. We won Chipata Central, we won Mkaika in Katete, we won Muchinga in Serenje, and a host of other local government by-elections. In 2014, after the death of Mr. Michael Sata, may his soul rest in peace, a group from the old MMD rose up to destabilize the New Hope MMD. We went to court and we won. In 2016, the same group rose up to destabilize the party. After a 3-year legal battle, we won again in all the 4 courts: the High Court, the Court of Appeals, the Constitutional Court, and the Supreme Court. We won both the appeals and the actual case 23 times. The party is now poised for the national fight in 2021. I want to assure the Zambian people, I want to assure our membership across this nation that the same God who gave us the victory in all the previous battles shall cause us to triumph in 2021. I want to promise the Zambian people that I shall fight for you. I've been a fighter for change all my life. I have fought for the Zambian family and succeeded as a pastor. I have fought for the Zambian church and succeeded. I have fought for the MMD and succeeded. I'm now fighting for the nation, and together with my leadership and membership across this country, we shall truly succeed. We fought for the church in crusades and television conferences and Bible college. There is a history to our lives. We created a church movement which has changed the face of our nation completely. We reversed the traditional trends of Africans going to America to experience the workings of God there, because that's where Africans believed God lived. But we fought, and instead now Americans and the Europeans began to come to Zambia to come and experience God here at our Victory International Conferences in Mulungushi Hall. Some of you remember that. This movement resulted in Zambia being declared a Christian nation. We fought alongside other Christians and achieved what we have today, a vibrant church. We fought and we succeeded. We shall fight for Zambia. I shall fight for morality and integrity in politics, dignity and justice for every Zambian, to preserve and manage the resources of our nation. Foreign nations will come in their multiplied millions, not to come and oppress us, but to come and learn our secret for success. We fought and succeeded for the church. Zambia today stands at 97% Christian. We shall fight and succeed for Zambia until justice and equity for all Zambians becomes our new normal. We have a sure track record, and that is why I have taken some time to explain that I'm not dropping from heaven or just jumping up from Chinsal without a track record. We do have a track record of leadership, success, resilience, and a spirit of fight. I want to talk about the New Hope MMD for the next few minutes. I wish to address the issue of the vehicle I shall use to run for president, the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. A lot of our supporters have said, NEVERS, yes, but MMD, no. I understand this apprehension. It is true that some selfish and greedy people had abused our party in the past. The MMD acquired a bad name. The Bible says a good name is better than silver and gold. Unfortunately, our name was messed up by a few that decided to use this organization to fulfill their selfish desires. In 2011, the MMD vehicle crashed and was heavily damaged. And I want you to have this picture in your minds as I now talk about the movement for multi-party democracy. I know the concerns of our Zambian people. They believe that the name MMD brings the remembrance of some of the things that they hated about the time of the movement for multi-party democracy. But we noticed that in 2011, in September, our political party crashed. Imagine a vehicle being driven and crashes, and the windscreen is broken, the vehicle is broken, and it needs total repair, and the driver is taken to the hospital. That's the picture of what happened to MMD. Maybe we were overspeeding. Maybe we were not listening to the instructions of the police to slow down. Maybe we became arrogant. Maybe we thought that the money that belonged to the Zambian people actually belonged to us. And as a result of that, we crashed. My responsibility as president of this organization has been to clean up the MMD name. Some of the old MMD people who were part of the 2011 loss have insisted to keep the image of the party the same. I think it would be arrogance of the highest order for me to take the old MMD that the Zambians rejected in 2011 back to them to consider us for the vote. My job is to clean up the name of the movement for multi-party democracy. I've done that before for many things. I've cleaned up many things before, and I'm going to work with my team to ensure that the name of MMD becomes the answer to the aspirations and the dreams of the Zambian people. Yes, problems emerged in this political organization, but I am determined to clean it up before we offer it up for election. MMD has a new president, a new National Executive Committee, new values of morality and integrity. With this new team and these new values, it has become necessary to give the MMD a new name which befits the organization. And that is why we are now calling it the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. Just to let you know, we are not the same. We are not, you can't judge us by the sins of another. Not even God does that. If a father sins, God will not take the sins of the father and push them on the son, except iniquity. But sin cannot be transferred to NEVERS Mumba. As I've said, I was not here when this party crashed. My job has been to clean up this political party. And all I need from all of our membership across the country, our supporters in this country, is the support. Judge me by my own sins. Judge me by my own inadequacies. Judge me by my own failures, not the failures of the previous leader or the previous leaders. They have their own legacies, and God will hold them accountable for their actions. God will hold me accountable for what I do while I'm in office. And I know that a lot of our people think that the name MMD is gone. It's like you find a house which has been vacated and you live in that house as a new tenant. I do not think it is fair for you to be blamed for whatever the last tenant used to do in that house. I think you should be judged for your own mistakes. And that's the message I give to a lot of our supporters that are concerned about the name MMD. MMD is like a Mercedes-Benz car, which is riding well, liberalizes the country, brings back democracy, and ensures that Zambia's economy begins to grow, and all of a sudden that Mercedes-Benz crashes, and the driver dies, and a few other people die in that Mercedes. You cannot stand there and say, take all the Mercedes-Benz cars from the road, they are bad cars. No, maybe it could be the driver. All we can say is that drive it better so that you don't get into an accident. But you don't cancel Mercedes-Benz cars and call them what they are not. The same thing about Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. Sins were committed in the names of this party, and I have condemned each one of those sins. And I have encouraged our people to lift up the banner of morality and integrity. Yes, we do have a new team. It is new, it is different, and it is ready to govern. Now allow me to deal with some of the issues affecting us. I have given that background just to have a conversation, because a lot of our people have believed what never happened. I found a paralyzed MMD. We began to build it up. The people who had paralyzed it, when they saw the vehicle was repaired, put new windscreen, they came back to want to paralyze it again. And then we got it back, and 3 times we have worked on this vehicle. And I believe it's now ready to serve the Zambian people again. I want to announce to the Zambian people that the nation is tired. The word on the streets is that Zambians are tired, both here and in the diaspora. The youth are tired. The women are tired. The civil servants are tired. Generally, Zambians across the country are fatigued. The economy is broken, and the freedoms of our people are taken away from them. The fatal sin of the Patriotic Front government is their unwillingness to listen to the Zambians. That's the biggest sin that they have committed, beside anything else. The arrogance, the love affair with illegalities, and the readiness to use brute force against anyone who has a question. This government of the Patriotic Front prides in illegalities. A few days ago, the President of the Republic of Zambia made a troubling statement to all Zambians when he said that he does not recognize NEVERS, MUMBA and the MMD, but he recognizes those who lost the case at the High Court. That may seem like a small statement, but it makes my heart to tremble, because if I as a president do not respect the outcome of courts, then we have no hope for legalities to become part of our society. It is true, fellow countrymen. It is true, fellow countrymen and women, that President Lungu sits in that State House as a result of a court judgment. A petition was taken after the election by the opposition to say that this election was rigged. The Constitutional Court ruled that there were irregularities in how that petition was presented. Therefore, Mr. Lungu can become president as a result of the court judgment. If we choose as Zambians not to believe in that court judgment, our statement would say we don't believe that he's the president of Zambia. But we are beyond that. We trust in our institutions. That's why they exist, to create a society where we can all live together in harmony, in peace, and in respect for one another. That's why courts exist. That's why we go to courts. The option, I know that a lot of our colleagues kept saying, NEVERS, don't solve the problems of the MMD by going to court. Solve them politically. Politically means we get pangas, give them to our youths, and kill a few on the other side so that the strongest emerges as the winner and the owner of the party. God forbid, and not under my watch. Under my watch, the rule of law will be cardinal. Under my watch, we will respect what the courts say. And I hope the president can respect the courts and stand by his own courts, because it's that court that is going to swear him in or swear me in after 2021. We must have confidence in our institutions. The greatest enemy of the Patriotic Front is silence. Their silence. Zambians have interpreted this as an admission of guilt. Whether it's about the $1 million fire engines, the overpriced ambulances, the unsustainable debt, or the extravagant government expenditure, the questions of Zambians have gone unanswered. Zambians are tired because they know that the PF will do exactly what they want to do with impunity. No one can stop the Patriotic Front. A few weeks ago, the youth stood up and asked the Patriotic Front government to review their decisions on the dominance of the Chinese in our country. The youth asked them at least remove the Chinese signs from our streets because we are not Chinese. Please remove those and put, if you are short for languages, use Tonga or Bemba. If you don't want to use English, but don't use Chinese. We are not Chinese. This is not China. This is Zambia. It doesn't matter what you have received from the Chinese. This will never be China. This will never be a colony of China. This country shall be an independent sovereign state of Zambia, a Christian nation. That's who we are. That's who we are. And that's what we are going to continue to be. The youth asked government, please, let us be respected in our own nation by the Chinese. Our youth asked that our gold should not be given to foreigners, but we should manage our own resources. The youth said that we should not spend $5 million on a foreign company to restructure our national debt, which NEVERS Mumba warned this government in 2017 3 times and said, please stop overborrowing. Now we want to spend $5 million to pay a foreign firm to come and sort out the mess we created even against our own advice. The youth raised an issue that the Bill 10 should be withdrawn. Their point was, for heaven's sake, why should we divide a nation over a legislative bill? Why can't it wait? Why should we divide the church in the manner that it's being divided just because of one bill? Why is this country being ripped apart because of this bill? Why is there so much recklessness that we are ready to rip our nation apart just to pass Bill 10? Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this as a people to ourselves? I have said this before, that Bill 10 or no Bill 10, when Zambians make up their minds that PF must go, they'll still go with Bill 10 in their hands. It's not Bill 10 that will preserve the Patriotic Front. It's their heart and love for the people of this country. It's their ability to serve the people of this country. A good leader can serve his nation with a bad constitution. A bad leader, even when he's given a constitution, he can still abuse the people. Bill 10 is not the answer to the problems of our nation. Bill 10 is the biggest problem to the unity of our nation. We must stop it. This government must. That's what the young people were saying. It's not the size of the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. The United States of America, since 1700, they have had a constitution of only 4 pages. 4 pages. 4,500 words have governed the greatest democracy on earth. 4 pages. Britain is worse. Britain doesn't even have a written constitution. And yet their democracy is many times better than ours. It's the ability and the quality of leadership that we put in place that guarantees the prosperity of a nation. Madam Chair, the youth went ahead and said the ministers that are facing corruption cases should be on suspension to pave way for investigations. But I want to say this. With all these claims, or rather petitions that the young people brought, what did they get in return? They got a militarized police force unleashed on the streets to deal with our young people. The movement for multi-party democracy introduced democracy, and that democracy did not mean only to go to the ballot and vote. Use the ballot and vote. Absolutely not. It meant that not only do we vote for the leader we want, but we also allow ourselves to enjoy the freedoms that God gave to us. And one of those freedoms is the freedom of association and freedom of speech. That's our right, not from the Zambian constitution, but from God's constitution, the word of God. Our freedom does not come from the constitution of Zambia. It comes from God, the creator himself. And no human being, I don't care what you call him, whatever title he holds, has any right to interfere with the freedoms that are God-given. And I said to Zambia, we are ready to fight with you, young people. We shall go with you not only to the mountains, but the streets of this nation. We shall demand. We are going to demand our Zambia back. We are going to get our nation back. We are going to get our freedoms back. We are going to get our dignity back. We are going to get our prosperity back as a nation. We cannot, for another day, allow what has been happening the past few weeks to happen again. Young people, I called you cowards the other day. And yes, you will be cowards if you don't rise up at this moment. This is your nation. We are getting old now. We are handing over the baton to you. Don't tire. Don't give up. Nobody gets freedom or blessings just because you are handsome or pretty. You got to fight for it. You got to pay a price for it. You're going to go to Chimbokaila with NEVERS Mumba. You got to go to... You got to do that if you're going to change this country. You can't change Zambia on your laptops. You gotta close those laptops and get out there and say, give us our nation back. I have said it before, you will not change Zambia with your slang and accents of American language when you are supposed to say, Mpele Chalo Chand. You've got to get this country back. We've got to get this nation back. PF has tried and beaten them, insulting them. We will not change them. It's it. That's it. They have showed you what they've got. There's only 12 months left. What miracle are they going to produce from the bag? What they have shown you is who they are and what they've got. I like boxing. I liked watching Muhammad Ali when he fought with Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier would punch and punch and punch. And Muhammad Ali would say, is that all you got? Is that all you got? Is that all you got? And I'm asking today to the Patriotic Front, is that all you got? Yes. I think that's all they got. That's all they got. They don't got nothing more than they got. They have already showed you what they've got, and they have showed you that they are not going to allow us to be free. The question is, should we ask a nation, should we ask as a nation, we as a nation, should we work around finding ways in which we can make PF change? Our colleagues in Malawi made a decision. They reached this stage when their government stopped listening. And they concluded that it would be cheaper and easier and more reasonable to remove the party in government than make fruitless efforts to try to change a party that does not want to change. How long have we pleaded with PF to allow us to have meetings as opposition? And they have refused. How long have we pleaded with PF to explain to us who bought the $1 million fire trucks? What happened to $750,000? Why can't you answer us? We are tired of asking. Zambia is tired. Women are tired. The youth are tired. NEVERS is tired. We are tired of asking. We are tired of trying to do what you expect us to do according to how you want it done. We want our country back. We want our nation back. Oh yes, I am looked at as though I don't belong to this country, like I'm not a citizen of this country. I have a right to be called a Zambian. I may not be president today, but I have been on the political scene before President Lungu ever got on the political scene. I've been in public life before he got into public. I'm a Zambian just like him. And when I have concerns, I expect that I'm going to be heard. Let me talk about corruption for just 1.5 minutes. Zambia is number 119 out of 180 nations on the Global Corruption Index. In other words, we have only beaten 67 countries. 113 countries are above us. We have a score of 34 out of 100 in the handling of corruption, meaning 34%. At Hillcrest, where I went to school, 34% means you are failed. You won't go to university, you won't go to college. 34% is failure. Okay? Even at Chiwala Secondary School, 34% is failure. And yet, we are behaving as though at 34% of our corruption problem, we are normal. And I think that we should be crying as leaders that we have failed to even hit 50%, that we can be a nation that will pass. And yes, we are unworried about these numbers. Under my leadership, those found to be corrupt will wish they had never been born. I just want to say that. Under my leadership, anyone who has been charged and found to be corrupt, you are going to wish you had not been born. I am not announcing my policy on how to handle corruption now, because I first want you to vote for me. Because if I announce the corrupt people will wage a warfare against me that you've never known. But within the first 3 years of my governance, there will be no corruption in this country. I think I'll leave it there. But I can assure you, I'm not a liar. I'm a pastor. I'm not lying to you. It will be bad news. It will be bad news. As a matter of fact, my advice is that those who are corrupt now start to make things right, so that by the time we take over in 13 months, you would have already cleaned up by paying your taxes for the properties you have built, because I'll use a totally different system to find out whether what you have was properly gotten. And if you can't prove it with tax receipts, we may have a problem with you. You wish you were not born. I do not see this government changing the attitude towards corruption. It's time to prepare for the future and put in a government that will put a complete end to this. I worked under Levi Mwanawasa. His philosophy was zero tolerance against corruption. We did our very best, but I was not president that time, I was vice. But this time I shall be president, and I shall deal with this thing head on. Let me now go towards concluding to bring the change. How do we bring this change? Before we go to this, I want to advise government that the young people must be given the freedoms they deserve. They are asking questions, answer the questions they are asking. That's all they want. And this administration, the Patriotic Front, misunderstands the youth and the people of this country. When the youth ask the question, what has happened to the fire engines? Then you try to intimidate them. You try to beat them up. You call the police to brutalize them. I want to warn the Patriotic Front. I've just come back from Malawi, where I saw a transition of power from the last regime to the new regime. A few things that we learned from there, someone is calling them lessons from Malawi. Lesson number 1, a pastor can be president. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Lesson number 2, a former ruling party can bounce back and form government. The other lesson that we learn is the lesson that you cannot tempt the security forces too long. You should not tempt them, because the police are the fathers of the youth that are demonstrating. The police have families amongst the young people that are demonstrating. I want to warn the Patriotic Front as I close now. I want to give you this word and say, please do not tempt the security forces. In Malawi, the security forces decided to go on the side of the people because they got tired of brutalizing their own people. They chose to support the people. The moment that a country starts to use the police or security forces to brutalize its citizens, it's the time that you know that the end is near. So I ask this government, don't test the resolve of the security wings. Malawi is too close. They changed and switched sides and supported the people and not the regime. I want to say that we have a situation now. Which is being talked about concerning alliances. I know that it has come out and a lot of people are saying we should get into an alliance in order to remove the Patriotic Front. And I think that it's a well-positioned proposition. The coming change must be driven by the citizens. We must focus on creating an alliance with the Zambian people. In Malawi, for instance, the judiciary, the security wings, the church, the youth, civil society, and the media were the movers for change. They set aside cowardice and decided to take their country back. It was no longer what the opposition political parties wanted, but what Malawians wanted. The people imposed the alliance on political leaders. As politicians, we all have reasons why we think we should lead the alliances, but it's better that this comes from the masses. Let me conclude this answer. Should we form alliances? Yes. But we must form this alliance with all sectors of the Zambian society. What I saw in Malawi, it was the judiciary who chose change. It was the police who chose change. It was the military who chose change. It was the street vendors who chose change. And when that movement began, the political leaders, we have problems as political leaders in the opposition. Everybody wants to be president. And therefore, the only way to come up with one president is when the movement moves the political leaders to do what they want in order to form the government they want. This is not about HH and NEVERS Mumba. And in any case, do not push us too far as MMD. MMD has bent backwards. We have gone into alliances before. We went into an alliance with UPND. We were not even running mates. We just went there to support. So don't accuse us that we are power hungry. We went there to support for a common cause. So it is something we have done before. So we need a situation where Zambians understand that today I can say I deserve to be the president of the alliance because I'm the most experienced. I was vice president of this country. HH will also argue, no, but I've got more members of parliament, so I should be the president. And I would also argue, I said, but me, I've pastored people, I know how to manage the problems of diverse needs of people. He said, no, but I'm also an accountant. So we'll continue arguing because we think what we have is what Zambians deserve, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think unless this movement comes from the citizens, it is going to only cause delays and problems. Zambians must rise and get their country back. That's the only answer to us healing this situation. We will do what you tell us as opposition leaders. We will do what you guide us as Zambians. We are on the side of Zambians. We are on your side. In conclusion, I want to say change shall only come if all of us go out to vote. In order to vote, we shall all register to vote. We must register to vote. I call on all the youth, women, the church, and all civil servants to register to vote. Nothing will change unless we vote. I wish to announce that I shall stand for President of the Republic of Zambia in 2021. And I wish to ask you, fellow Zambians, to trust me with your vote. I shall not disappoint you. I thank you, and may God bless our great nation.